Hello and welcome to Happy Horror Time Podcast. My name is Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch. Matt and I are beyond lucky to have the original man behind the hockey mask as our special guest today. He played Shelly, everyone's favorite prankster, and jumped off the screen in Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. He's the one that gave Jason his famous hockey mask, and sadly, he paid the price for it. Please welcome to the podcast one of the most memorable stars from my favorite film series of all time ever, actor turned lawyer, Larry Zerner.
Woo!
Hey guys, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Just great.
Good. We're so happy to have you on the podcast. We've been looking forward to this.
Yes. Okay, so we're just going to jump right in. So you grew up right here in Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
What got you interested in becoming an actor?
Okay, so I was in sixth grade, and I was at in elementary school, and our elementary school did a musical every year. And I remember growing up and seeing the school. They would do like Oliver and Peter Pan. And anyway, my year they were doing a Gilbert and Sullivan show called HMS Pinafore. I don't know if you know it.
I do not.
I have not heard of it, but both Tim and I were involved in theater like all through high school and college. So, but no, I have not heard about it, but
it's a classic Gilbert and Sullivan, Pirates of Penzance. And
I know that show.
Yes.
Yeah. This is probably their second, then the Mikado. I don't know. It's one of them. Anyway, so I was cast as Dick Deadeye, the villain in the musical, who gets to wear, he's like, his hand is palsied and he gets to be the bad guy. And I remember the first night of doing the show, I mean, I was always an outgoing kid, but I got cast in the show. And then the first night we were doing the show, and I have this little speech about, being the bad guy. And I got applause, and it was like, ding, ding,
this is for me, right?
Like, no one's ever done that to me before. Like, okay.
So you're like Lady Gaga. You live for the applause.
Exactly. It never happened again. I'm just constantly searching for that. Never happened again. So that was like, oh, I like this. So then I, wanted to be an actor, and then I started taking acting classes and both in, junior high and high school, and outside classes, and trying to pursue it.
That is awesome. And so, look, you have the best discovery story ever when it comes to Friday the 13th Part 3. And I know, for people who have the DVD and has listened to the interviews, they'll be familiar with the story. But for people who aren't and that are listening to this, I know you've mentioned that you were, I think, working in a movie theater, Westwood, taking tickets to a test screening of The Road War, and you were approached by the writers of Friday the 13th Part 3. What did you say to them? And can you tell us about this? We want to know everything.
Okay, well, close. I was in Westwood. I was handing out tickets. You go in, if you live in LA, you hand out tickets to these screenings, right? Do you want to go see a movie? Do you want to go see a movie? That's what I was doing. I was in Westwood, right by where Barney's Beanery is now, if you know that. I was standing there, and so I'm just standing there. Do you want to go see this movie? Do you want to see this movie? And these people come up to me and they said, Are you an actor? And I was like, no, again, no one's ever asked me that. It was like, I thought maybe they had seen me in.
They're like, hey, we saw you in your sixth grade show. And
did they see you?
Weren't you the villain? Weren't you Dick Deadlock? Dick Deadlock.
Dick Deadeye.
Deadeye. Sorry.
So yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm an actor. I was studying acting. I'd done acting, so yeah, I'm an actor. And they said, well, we wrote this movie and we think you'd be perfect for it. And so those are the writers, Carol Watson and Marty Katrasser. And they had, they just saw me, and it was like, that's, the script said, fat, afro, geeky, wannabe actor. And they saw me and it went, that's our Shelly. Like, it was, really like, if someone had written the part for me, it couldn't have been more, it couldn't have been more written for me as if someone who knew me had written.
I mean, millions of people come here for that story. Like, yeah. I mean, everyone moves to Los Angeles to get discovered on the street. I mean, like, you have the definitive awesome story.
Yeah. And
yeah, I mean, me and Lana Turner, it's like Lana Turner, Larry Zerner, Same thing.
They were so close. Wait, did you like right there on the spot say what movie it? Like, did you ask a lot of questions at the spot, or did you just exchange contact info and just keep handing out tickets?
I did. I said what movie, and they said Friday the 13th Part 3, so I knew what it was. Although I don't think I had seen parts 1 and 2 yet, but I certainly knew what it was. And then, so I gave them. I had an agent. I gave him my agent's number, and then I did not stay working. I went to talk to my friend. I went to go see my friend. I was like, I can't believe this is what happened. So that was Saturday night, and then I'm like waiting by the phone all day Monday for the call to come, and doesn't come, no call. I'm like, because I is this a scam? Like, who does this, right? Who comes over and goes, we're gonna put you in a movie, kid? It's like, although I'm not the type, like no one's coming to me to go like, yeah, I'm gonna get you in a bed. Like, this is my, my trick, my casting couch trick. Like, no one's doing that to me. So I'm like, what's going on? But anyway, Tuesday they called me and like, come on down and audition. So they couldn't give me the part. They were the writers. Writers have no power. So, but I got the audition, and then I went in and auditioned. And the rest is history.
Wow.
Well, before we do many more Friday 13 Part 3 questions, you and I have something in common. We were both on 1 versus 100.
Our good looks.
That's right. Our good looks.
Yes, good looks, sparkling personalities, and
there we go.
Yeah. Well, you won $250,000. I walked away with nothing.
Oh, okay.
So tell me about your experience.
So were you in the mob, or were you a 1?
No, I was the 1.
Oh, and okay. And did you just kept out? You got one wrong, and so you didn't get anything.
Well, I got up to 25,000, and they asked me a question that is so ridiculously easy. I don't remember it, and I probably should remember it. But yeah, I just walked away with nothing.
What was the name of the character who gave Jason Voorhees his famous hockey
right?
mask
And I said Freddie.
No. Wait, but you won $250,000 on that show.
Yes. So this was so. I'm way into trivia. I sort of know a lot of trivia stuff, pop culture stuff, and my nephew said, "Oh, there's this show, 1 versus 100. You should try for it." So I looked it up. And then I Googled, 1 versus 100 casting. Literally that day, like I Googled it, and that day they put up a casting, like we're casting the next day. Like, so it was like Sunday he told me about it. Monday I Googled it. Tuesday was the audition. I went in to audition, and I know they're never going to make me the 1. They're not going to make me the 1 because no one needs a, entertainment lawyer is the 1, right? That they want a good story. Like, no one cares if I win money. So that was not the story. So they were like, you're going to be in the mob. I said, but I knew that, they need 200 people a day for the show. So they're going to take everybody to the show. So I figured I'll get in the mob, and I know the mob can get money. For people listening who haven't watched the show, if when Tim got the $25,000 question wrong, the members of the mob who were left split the $25,000. So if there's 25 people in the mob left, they split 1,000, right? Tim, that was the rule. Okay, so I go there. I'm like, okay, I'll do that, because you can stay. You stay in the mob as long as you win, you stay. So I did a show. I didn't win anything, but I kept going. And then they said, okay, you're gonna come back. We're changing the rules on the next show. We're doing a last man standing. We're gonna have 100 people, and the last person there who gets all the questions right wins the money. And I was like, okay, because I'm like, all right, I'm pretty good at this, and I figured I got a decent shot. And then I get there on the day of the taping, and I figure it's just random people. No, they have random people, and then they have Ken Jennings, they have Brad Rutter, who are the 2 all-time Jeopardy champs and are also on this show, The Chase now. They had 2 people who won on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. They had a bunch of college bowl people. They had a bunch of ringers like stuck in the group, and then me, and I was just one of the random people. And so we were going through blah blah blah, and then it wheels down pretty quickly and we're down to 5 people. And then they asked a question, who's been married the most number of times, and it was Larry King, King of Pop, Michael Jackson, or I don't remember who the last person was. Anyway,
Larry King, right?
I said Larry King, and all the other four went with Michael Jackson. No, the third one was Henry VIII. That was the third one. It was Henry VIII. So that was the trick. So people all said Henry VIII was married 6 times, and somehow I knew Larry King had been married 7 times, and so the other 4 got out, including Ken Jennings.
Wow.
And I won the money, and they were not ready for that. No one expected me to win that. The money, but it was.
You are the luckiest person alive.
No, that's an amazing.
I am the luckiest person alive. Yeah, it's
wow.
It's great. If you want to see it, I think if you go to my Wikipedia page, there's a link. You can watch me win the $250,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do with that money? No, you don't have to answer that unless you want to.
I bought my wife a car.
Oh, that's a nice gift.
I'm hoping that with all the 250, because I'm hoping that it was a Tesla / Lamborghini / Ferrari.
You pay a lot of taxes on that.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Sure,
that's awesome.
And you also did an episode of Fame. Did it air before or after Friday 13 Part 3?
After. So that was like a year after. It was I was up for the role of the. Did you watch Fame? You guys?
Of course, I did.
No, familiar.
There was like a tuba playing guy who was like a nerd on the show. They brought him in anyway. I was up for that role, and I didn't get it. Anyway, they gave me this role. I look back and go, man, I did nothing with that role. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know what I was doing.
How many episodes was the tuba player on?
He was on a bunch. He became a regular, like yeah. So it would have changed me. Like that would have been like life changing. You know?
Yeah, but you know what? I bet he wasn't in a Friday the 13th
no, exactly.
movie. So
I remember Shelly. I don't remember the tuba.
Yeah, exactly.
David Greenlee. I remember him. David Greenlee.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And I know we keep saying before we get into this, but just one more question before we jump into Friday the 13th Part 3. And it's, when you were growing up, were you a fan of horror movies? And whether you were or not, were there any specific ones you remember having kind of like an impact on you in those early years?
So yeah, I remember when I was 11, 12, I went through a huge like Universal monster phase. I remember telling my parents, I had my own bedroom and I'm like, can I paint it black? And then just put monsters, glow in the dark monsters. Like I wanted to do that. And they're like, no, you can't do that to your room. But so I went through this Universal monster phase. When keep in mind when back then, so I'm growing up in the 70s, you're limited. There's no videos. So you're limited to what's on television, and they don't put R-rated horror on television. You can't see The Exorcist or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or even Halloween on television. So you're really, it's Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, Dracula. Those are the movies that you see that they show.
That's cool.
So that's what I would like.
That you were into those. I mean, yeah, we talk to so many people in horror movies who say they hate horror movies, that are in horror movies. But the Universal monster, I mean, it's classic. That's where horror began. You were about to start talking about this when it came to after you were discovered and talked to about Friday the 13th Part 3. But when you did get the call for the audition, what was that audition process like? Like, what did they have you do for the audition and tell you about the role?
We did the scene in the car and the store. It was me and Vera. I think I just read with Steve Miner, the director. I don't remember reading with any girls, but I remember I had to go back a few times. It was at least 3 times that I came back to the thing. I remember coming back to the 3rd time, and I was feeling kind of cocky. I was like, and then Steve's like, you don't have this role yet. I'm like, okay, all right, yes, I know, of course, all right. But it was meant to
probably. I bet he heard from the writers how they maybe contact you, and maybe he didn't want to give you a big head or something. But I'm sure you already had the role.
I don't know. I never saw any other fat kids like in the waiting room to audition, so I didn't see anyone who auditioned.
You're like, sure, Steve, I have this role.
Yeah. He like,
listen, Mr. Miner.
So what was your impression of Friday 13th films before you started? I mean, the audition process, like you didn't see part 1 or 2 in the theater?
Okay, I don't remember seeing the movies. I was talking to my friend the other day, and he said that we rented the movies and watched them after, like, but I don't remember. I have no memory of doing that, so I just don't have any memory of seeing the movies at that time. I've seen them since then, but I don't remember seeing them.
So wait, but then going into it, you knew there's a masked, or not at the time.
Yeah.
No,
There's a Jason Voorhees killer. Or did you even know what they were about? You knew they were a slasher, right?
Yeah. But of course the first one is not, right?
Yeah.
There's no
Spoiler,
Jason.
it was the mother. And then the second one was a bag on his head.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
No one knows. If you're listening to this podcast, welcome.
Yes. So I did, you just read the script and I was like, okay, but here's the thing about the part 3. It's not a movie about people, to them, it's not a movie about Jason. Shelly has no contact with Jason, except at the end, you don't even see him meet Jason. He comes out and his throat is cut. So his contact with Jason is 3 seconds in his life. It's not a movie about Shelly and Jason. It's not a movie about Jason. I mean, the third act is about Jason. So the first 2 acts, to the audience, it's about Jason. To the people in the movie, it's not about Jason. There's no connection to Jason. You don't see him. They only see him until Andy sees him, he gets split open. Tracy sees him, Tracy doesn't see him, he just gets stabbed through the hammock, right? Only Chris is the only one who has like a long time with Jason. Everyone else is just, you see him and you're dead.
Yeah, I'll never forget that horrible face. Never.
That's right.
Well, it's the only movie that they don't say the name Jason. Isn't that right? They never say his name throughout.
That's what yeah. They never, right. Nobody knows there's Jason. So, they don't talk about it.
So after your cast, like how long before you start rolling, like the cameras are rolling, or was there like a table read through or anything?
No, we never had a table read.
Oh, wow.
Didn't meet. Right. So it was quick. I mean, we auditioned it was like mid-January and we started filming in February. Wow. So that, they were right. Cause that's how it is. You cast and you start. You're not keeping them around.
When were you informed that it was in 3D, or was that from the get-go?
No, it was from the beginning. We knew it. I think it was on the script. It was 3D. And then there was, at one point in the script, we were going to do paddle balls, but they realized that they couldn't get the balls to go straight at the camera, right? The paddle balls go all out. They come back to the paddle, but they're not coming. They can't get it to go to the camera. So then they went. Somehow they knew I could juggle or whatever, and they said, "Can you juggle instead?" And so that was written into the script. So I guess that's the scene. The scene where they're juggling was going to be paddle. We're going to be paddleball.
And we have a number of questions to ask you about the 3D, but before even we get into that, did you have any initial thoughts on 3D movies? Like, did you think, oh, that's cool? Or were you like, oh, this is cheesy? Like, did you have any initial thoughts when you heard it was going to be in 3D?
I thought it was cool. I had seen Coming at You. I don't know if you guys are maybe too young. So Coming at You was the first of this 80s 3D movies. It's a movie, I don't even think it has a plot, but it has very good 3D. It's polarized. It was one of the first polarized 3D movies. And I think we were the second to use this polarized 3D where it's not red-blue. So it's much better 3D.
It's really good. It's really good.
No.
Yeah, if you see in the theater, it's really good.
I saw it twice. I was very lucky. Go on.
But you weren't alive in the movie. You guys aren't old enough to see.
I was
in 82.
I was alive, but I was not able to see the film. I saw Jaws 3 the next year.
I was 2 when it came out, so I didn't see it until later, but I did see it once in the theater in 3D. I did not, and now, obviously.
But I've been lucky to see the revival screenings. I saw twice in 2000.
You saw the Egyptian? You were at the Egyptian screening?
Yeah, I saw the Egyptian and the one on, what's that theater in?
The New Beverly?
No.
New Art?
The New Art?
You know, on the DVD extras, you kind of mentioned something about that because of the 3D, the focus was more on kind of the technical aspect than the acting. And I think Steve Miner may have even told you, like, don't play a character, just be you. Was that kind of confusing advice to get as an actor, or did it actually make it more comfortable for you just to play yourself, however he was, describing
Yeah,
that?
no, because right, Shelly is Larry. I mean, there's like we weren't really that different. I mean, what is Shelly? He's a wannabe actor. He likes to play practical jokes. He's not good with the ladies. Yeah, one, two, three. I'm there. I got it. I don't need to. He's like, don't do a voice. Don't be don't be a geek. Just be you, because that's who you are. And so I mean, just like with anything, as an actor, you go, okay, how would I be in this scene? Like, especially with when you're the more quote unquote emotional scenes with Vera, where she's breaking up with him, or not breaking up, but like, you're a jerk. But yeah, being a jerk's better than being nothing, that all that stuff.
Well, I mean, I feel like to me, truly, like, Shelly is a very empathetic character, because you can tell that, all his pranks are kind of just a defense mechanism for his insecurities. And he also kind of has this self-deprecating sense of humor, saying that he can't go skinny dipping because he's not skinny enough. And I'm just wondering, at the time, how did you feel about the way they wrote Shelly, often kind of making him the butt of his own jokes? Did you have any issues with that, or were you all for it?
I don't know that I thought of, it's like, this is who he is. Like, they wrote it, I'm playing it. It's like, it wasn't, I didn't take it as me, I mean, I'm playing him, but it's like, yeah, I mean, I certainly have done that. So there was nothing there that I couldn't relate to.
Yeah, no, but I think many people could, like, that's, I'm looking at this character on a very deep level, but I mean, truly, like, he is empathetic, because I think it's hard to identify as much with some of the other characters, unless, I guess, you smoke a lot of pot.
I do not.
You had a horrible backstory of someone attacking you in the forest, but everyone knows what it feels like to feel insecure when they're dating, or just to kind of be a little bit self-deprecating. So he's a very empathetic character. I'm also wondering, what was your overall experience like working with Steve Miner? We actually got to meet him at a party randomly, and the coolest thing was he loved talking about this movie, Friday the 13th Part 2, and Halloween H2O. Like, he knew we were total horror geeks, but he humored us. Like, he just really loved talking about it. So what was your experience like working with him overall as a director?
Well, it was good. This is my first professional job. It's really my first movie, and really my only like movie where I was on it for a long time. So I don't have a lot to compare it to, but and again, it was a lot of dealing with the technical aspects and putting the movie together. And that was really more his focus than the acting. There wasn't a lot of talk about acting and motivation and stuff. It was, he just like, we'd do a scene, and then like you could yell cut, and then there would be no, like, me and the other actors would be like, was that okay? Actors are insecure, and I was like, is that okay? And there was no, like, nothing. So we're like, okay,
do that again.
So he wasn't like doing retakes for better acting. He was doing retakes for, like, get the 3D parts and technical parts right.
Exactly. Well, of course, he didn't need to get better acting from us. We were at top of our game every time. But
of course.
Yes, he didn't. He never said, like, there was never like, oh, that was bad. Or I don't remember, like, do it more this way, or, giving us real acting advice. Sometimes he'd give us a line reading or something. So
when it comes to the throw the wallet, or in the grocery store, the juggling scene with Andy, which two scenes were your favorites?
Yeah, or like, how difficult was it? I know you said luckily you were already a juggler, so that part I think was, but to get the 3D right for those scenes that Tim was mentioning, like throwing the wallet at the camera or juggling, like, did that take after take?
Yeah, apparently you had to do that scene in the grocery store twice. Like, you had to go back and refilm it.
Well, so the grocery store was the first thing that we filmed. We filmed it for day one. That was that's how they were going to start filming the whole movie.
Oh wow!
And it, whatever happened, it didn't work. The 3D didn't work, or they were just, because they were really learning. It was a brand new 3D process that they were developing. It just didn't work. They shut down for a week, and then we came back and did it again. So because they just were learning this new process, so they were like, okay, I think they did some tests and more tests, and then came back, and then we did it again. So that was that was good. The wallet we had to like, because that was the one thing where you had to like get right at the camera. So it was like, it takes some time to throw a wallet at the camera and hit it. So that took like 10 takes. That was the only time. But that's like, okay, do it again. It's just one little shot. It's a 2-second shot. So you just do that again. The juggling, we just juggled because the balls are going way up in the air, and because it worked.
That's got to be a lot of pressure on the very first day of filming. The focus is on you trying to get like such a technical shot. Like I would have.
And it's not even like it's not any lines. It's like, hey, the first thing you have to do is make sure you get a wallet thrown right at the camera.
I didn't. It just was what it was. I didn't,
Did Jeffrey Rogers, who played Andy, know how to juggle like you had before they did, or did he have to quickly learn?
He had some juggling experience. I had much more juggling experience. So I was a better juggler, but I gave him some pointers and, we practiced and he got it.
That's perfect. And I can't even imagine. I mean, you said that it was going to be a paddleball scene. I can't even imagine if they had tried that. Other than the fact that, like you were saying, that getting the balls on the screen, but like, oh my God, I think I would have gone nuts having to do that over and over and over and over to get it, right. But the juggling, it perfectly works. Overall, while filming, did the cast and crew get along on set, and who did you bond with the most while you were filming?
Yeah, I mean, we had a good time. There was a lot of downtime on the set because every setup took 2 hours. So we do a shot. If you're filming a movie, you film a master and then you do the close-ups or medium shots, 2 shots, and it's 2 hours between each one. So we'd go back to except for the scenes at the store where we're just all at the cabin and the barn, which is a real location, and then we'd just be in our dressing rooms and so it was me and David Cadams, and we all just became pals, being there, just hanging out. It was a good time.
Were there any summer flings or anything during filming? Because you always hear about like certain cast members having romances. Any behind the scenes romances you can remember?
I think I asked Tracy Savage to marry me every day, but it didn't happen.
Were you guys about the same age?
We're all about. I was the youngest by far. Well, not by far, but I was the youngest because I had just turned 18.
Oh, wow.
I was not even 18 and a half.
Wow. Oh, I didn't know that.
Know.
Yeah, I guess you're all supposed to be playing teenagers, but the rest of them must have been
college
in their
age.
20s?
We're supposed to be college age.
College,
yeah,
okay. So
that's what I thought.
But because I thought, college age, I guess.
What's Paul Karatka?
Paul is older.
Yeah. He seemed like 20 something.
I was going to say late.
Yeah, well, Paul is not in college with us. He's like,
that's right. That's right.
How old was Dana at the time?
Dana's like 23, 22. I mean, they're, and Tracy was 19. I think Cadams might have been 20, 22. They were a little, some of them were a little older. I was youngest.
So another thing you talk about on the DVD extras is the alternate ending scene, that you actually watch being filmed. Can you tell our listeners about the scene, like what happened during the alternate ending scene and why they didn't end up using it, if you know that part?
Sure. So the scene it starts where Dana wakes up the next morning in the canoe, and then she sees Rick in the cabin, hey, and she rows over, she gets out of the canoe, goes onto the into the cabin. You see her walk in the front of the cabin, and you see Paul inside the cabin on the other side of that big window walk on inside, and then she goes to the door, opens the door. It's not Rick, it's Jason. And Jason chops her head off. And you can see the pictures of this on the internet. There are photos. I'm sure you've seen them. I remember watching them film, and it looked great. I mean, it looked great. The whole setup, and it was a good surprise, and you didn't expect it. Why didn't they use it? I don't know. They wanted to, have, I guess, a conclusion of the trilogy by using that. Mrs. Voorhees jumps out of the water.
Two quick
This
questions.
was so much better. This was so much better. So no, the reason they did it is because no one asked me.
No, that's a good answer. And of course, we knew what happened in the scene. Sometimes we'll ask questions just so the listeners can hear, but we knew all that went down. But two quick questions I have to ask you about that ending. Number one, did Dana Kimmel raise her hands up like Mrs. Voorhees did when she got decapitated in that scene?
I don't remember. Maybe.
And number two, after that, did she wake up and it was a dream? So that was going to be another
yes.
normal. Okay, so she really wasn't going to be decapitated, even if they used that.
Right, and then they just go to the like, how I think the scene right after she gets pulled into the water, right? Then you see her being dragged, into the thing. She's crazy, and the cop is taking her into the police car. So I think that stayed the same.
Best crazy scene ever.
Oh, I love her crazy.
There was an addition. There was the first ending shot, not shot, but in the original script, and which is also in the novelization, is that she goes into the barn and she sees all our dead bodies.
Oh wow!
We're all in the barn, and then just I forgot what happens.
Just like part two. So, just like part two when
Jimmy and it's so sad that the house where you guys filmed burnt down in 2006, right?
Yes.
Did you guys have to stay out there, or did you since you lived in Hollywood, did you drive back and forth to the set?
Yeah, we drive back and forth every day.
Everyone did.
So nobody.
Nobody's what? Not that I know of. No,
there was no hotel stayed. Or anything.
No, but it's like it's 30 miles.
That's a long time.
But you're going against traffic, okay. Right? It's up to 405. You just go straight up to 405 for those LA people.
I've actually made that drive.
Wait, there's no real Higgins Haven to stay over at?
Can you believe it?
I thought there was a Higgins Haven right on the other side of Crystal Lake.
I've made that drive. It is a tough drive. So, and after filming and everything, was everyone like, well, I'm tired?
Yeah. I remember doing after some of the night shoots. Yeah, it was driving home at 2 a.m. It's
were you gotta ask this because your death is I don't like to call it your death because your attack scene with Jacob. Oh my god,
that's Matt's boyfriend.
Jacob is the name of my boyfriend, and that is great. We'll have to. Yikes,
he's a killer.
He's a killer. Let me try that again, and hopefully we can edit that out. So your attack scene with Jason is off screen. Were you bummed that you didn't get to have like an actual confrontation with Jason that you got to film? Because you obviously, after you go to the barn to explore, then the next thing we see is you approaching Chili, played by Rachel Howard, with your throat slit. Were you bummed you didn't get to have that confrontation?
Can't say I was bummed. I'm so happy to be in the movie and get anything. And I still got my death scene, and I got to wear all the makeup and put all that stuff on. So whether or not you got to see it or not, it was, I still got to do my death scene, which is the fun part.
Yeah. No, that's
to get all bloody.
Is there any chance, just have to ask, this is probably wishful thinking, but is there any chance that Shelly's death was just another one of his pranks? And if you were ever asked to reprise the role of Shelly in a sequel that he actually hadn't died, would you reprise that role?
Well, I'm just waiting, like that and Dick Deadeye, like those are the two. Just come on back, do it some more. Maybe Shelly's playing Dick Deadeye. We'll just put that in. But I would love to. Hopefully they'll make another Friday the 13th movie one day.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. So looking back on the film, what was your favorite scene to film? And do you have a favorite death scene? other than your own?
The scene at the store was a lot of fun. Getting in the car and doing that thing where it looks like I'm doing a 180 in the car. Stunt driver did the 180, but I'm a thing, this gimbal that would turn around. So it was fun, and that was a blast to have do that. But the whole thing was fun. I had a great time. It was my first movie, and it was great from beginning to end. It's so much fun to work on a film.
No, I love that. It's no joke. I know that movie inside and out. It's such a great movie.
Any favorite death scene of any of the characters that you like watching?
When you see it in 3D in a theater, Rick's death scene, the eyeball popping is fantastic. I remember, I don't think I knew that was going to happen. And then I remember seeing it opening night and the eyeball comes out and the whole audience just jumped. It's it really works in a theater and when you're watching in good 3D.
I agree.
I think my favorite is Vera's though, with the arrow through the eye.
I like the girl.
That's also great.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Tracy Savage in the habit. So we're going to play a little quick game with you, a quick true or false game where we ask you a few true or false questions and see how well you can remember Friday the 13th part 3 just a mere 39 years later.
Okay.
So some quick true or false things, okay?
Okay. True or false? Friday 13th part 3 opened on an actual Friday the 13th.
True. August 13th, 1982.
Oh, that is correct. That is correct. Okay. True or false?
Same day as Fast Times as Ridgemont High.
Yes. We were actually going to ask that, but we knew you would know the answer to that. So same day as,
because we won the weekend.
Which did better in the box office that weekend?
Friday 13th, of course.
We killed. They were 7th.
Yeah.
They did not do well.
Take that.
Phoebe.
The one day I get to go, hey, Sean Penn, suck it,
That's right.
Okay, true or false? Shelly's last name in the movie is Frankenstein.
False.
It is.
Well, it's Finkelstein, but it's not, because that's just something that Dan Farron came up with.
We believed it.
He wrote that. Shelly does not have a last name in the movie. It's just
I didn't even know that.
I think in the novelization it says Shelly Horowitz or something. It's some other Jewish name. Yeah.
That is so funny. No, we didn't know that. We had false, obviously, on that one. But
Thank you, Daniel Farron.
Finkelstein. Go, Daniel Farrons. Okay.
Okay. In the film, Vera asks you to drive because she says she'll probably get you guys into an accident. True or false?
True.
That is yes, that is true. But then you're the one who gets in the accident after hitting the bikers' cars. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, she says you drive. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
True or false? Dana Kimmel, who plays Final Girl Chris Higgins in the film, was also on an episode of the TV show Fame.
False.
True. In 1983, she was. I guess, but
Oh.
that's kind of close to when you were on it. But we thought that was very interesting. 2 cast members that were on Fame. Okay, so this is a little bit longer. True or false? It's kind of a longer one. You had a role in the 2017 horror film Death House, and also in that film, among many other horror greats, was C.J. Graham, who played Jason in Friday the 13th Part 6.
No, Kane is in it, but not CJ.
Correct. It was false. Kane Hodder, who played Jason in Part 7 through 10, was in the film. Wait, can you tell us about what Death House was like? I can't. We wanted to watch. I couldn't find it to watch it, but there's a ton of people in it.
Yeah, it's really it's like the Expendables of horror. They really cast everybody. It's Barbara Crampton, Felissa Rose, Sid Haig, Danny Trejo. I mean, it's just never ending. The people in this movie. It's a very crazy movie, and I was sort of put in. I'm only in I'm in a post-credit scene.
Oh, what happens in the post-credits? What happens in?
You can't give it away.
Oh, in your scene.
It's a Friday the 13th joke.
Okay. That's so cool. I mean, we looked up the cast of that and I was like, oh my God, it's like unbelievable the amount of horror greats that are in that movie. But yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Sorry. Didn't work.
True or false? Because of the constant delays caused by the Luna crane during filming, the crew wore shirts that said, I hate Luma at one point.
True.
That is true.
Yes, that is true. Do you remember? There's something on the audio commentary where they talked about that. There's got to be a lot of anger towards that instrument for them to have shirts made against it.
The crane gave them. I mean, that was one of the reasons it took so long to just kind of. The crane gave them a lot of thing, and at one point it fell over and almost broke, and that was a big deal. I remember that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. True or false? Jason ends up impaling poor Chili with a pitchfork. True or false?
False. Chili gets the poker.
That's right.
Fox gets the pitchfork.
Exactly.
And so does Fox and Loco.
Exactly. They get the photo. It was a hot fire poker for poor Chili. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. True or false? You improv the word bitch under your breath in the scene with Vera when she tells you that she'll come back later to talk to you.
That is true.
Oh, please tell us about that. Did that just come to mind or what?
Okay. So I have to tell, because like nowadays, people think that Shelly's being a toxic male. And what was going on there was, I was a big Saturday Night Live fan. And if you're old enough, you remember that Gilda Radner used to play Emily Latella, who would come on the news and do this thing with Jane Curtin where she didn't hear right. And she'd go, I want to talk about violins on television. And then she'd go, it's violence on television. And then she'd go, oh, never mind. And then she'd go, bitch. And so we're doing the scene, and it's like, okay, it's like, yeah, we'll see, you hear him and thing. And so I knew Steve was about to yell cut, and I yelled, and I said, bitch. And it was really I was doing Emily Latella, and everyone knew I was doing Emily Latella. Like, that's the joke. And everyone just laughed. I mean, it was just funny, like, because they knew, like, that's what I was doing. And then Steve said, keep it in. So we did it again.
I was not lucky enough to I recorded it off television. So my memory as a child was always watching the television version. So I never heard the word bitch until later when I rented it. And I was like, oh my gosh, they said bitch.
And Tim actually hadn't ever heard the word bitch before.
Yeah, I was like, this is new.
What does that mean?
What is that? That's crazy.
Okay. True or false? You're starring in an upcoming horror sci-fi film called The Epidemic as a character named Tim.
False.
What?
Wait.
I know, it's on my IMDb. That guy puts it on. I think it's been there for like 10 years. They're never going to make this movie.
Really? Oh, we were like, oh my God, you're playing a Tim.
Yeah,
Wait,
Tim.
what happened? And what is this film?
Some guy said he's going to cast me in this movie. I'm like, okay, great. It's been 7 years, whatever. We never got the funding. He never got the funding.
It still says like pre-production.
That's
so I guess
right.
it's been.
Yeah, because once it's on, IMDb never takes it off. So
that is so funny. Okay, good. I'm glad that we got the real answer. Okay, our final true or false one. This is an easy one, but really we just wanted to ask this to get the story. True or false, you provided your voice for the character of Shelly in the Friday the 13th video game in 2017.
Well, that is true.
Now, please tell us, how did that come about? How did they approach you, or how did that all come to be?
Well, okay, so I had heard about the game being made, and I had a mutual friend. I had a friend, David Cohen, who knew the guys at Gun Media who make the game, and they were coming. They came in for E3 way before it was. They were in alpha stage, and they came to E3, and so I said, I want to go meet them. And so I went down and I met the guys, and they showed me a very, very early version of the game where you really could just walk around the thing, but it didn't really work that well. It was a thing. And I remember leaving and going, oh man, these guys are going to lose their shirts. This is not working. And then, but I kept in contact, and then the game came out and did very well. I mean, it was a big hit when it came out. And the only character from the movie in the game was
Tommy Jarvis.
Yes. Tom Matthews, and Tom Matthews is the only right. And then all the other characters were people who had paid to be characters on Kickstarter. If you put enough money, those are the characters in the game, the original characters.
Wow.
And then the game started doing well, so they got some money to put in some of the more other characters. So they put in a Fox, and they put in a Chuck, and but they knew me, so they're like, Larry, we'll put you in. You want to do the voice? And I'm like, yes. So that was great. So I was so
That's
happy.
Awesome.
So like, bucket list, to be a character in a video game. That was just fantastic.
That is really, really cool. Yeah.
So when the movie's all done and wrapped, was there any kind of red carpet premiere or like casting crew screening?
No red carpet premiere for this movie at all. I felt bad. We did have a cast and crew screening.
Was it at Paramount?
No, it was at what used to be, I think it was called the Tiffany Theater. It's on Sunset and La Cienega.
Okay.
It's gone now, but there used to be a theater up there. They used to play Rocky Horror Picture Show at midnight. Like that's that theater. Like if you're old enough and live in LA, you'll remember the Tiffany Theater. So like 2 blocks west of La Cienega and Sunset. So that's where we had the first screening, and that's where we saw it.
And
what was it? Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, what was it like the first time you saw it? And it was the first time you saw it in 3D?
I had actually seen it earlier. They had done a little test screening, and I found out about it, and so I sort of crashed it and saw it I'd seen it a few weeks earlier. So the cast screening was the second time I had seen it. But it's just kind of strange to see myself, but it's fun.
We always ask people, especially in such iconic, memorable movies, have you ever attended a horror convention or like a Friday the 13th specific convention?
Well, many. I mean, many. I like going to conventions. It's fun.
That's great. I mean, we as fans that we love that kind of thing. Yeah. What is the most common question you get from fans at conventions?
Either how'd you get cast, or how do you feel given Jason's hockey mask? But I remember. So Friday the 13th sort of had for a long time after it came out. Right, and then there were all the other movies, and then they sort of faded from view after Jason X, and they they were sort of gone, sort of in the 90s. No one really talked about it. It was really pre-internet groups and stuff like that. And then, like in 2005, there was a convention in New York. I guess it was the Fango convention. And they were going to have like a bunch of Friday 13th people there. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to that. So I went, and they put us in a room, and it was the first time. It was Adrian King, Amy Steele, Kane Hodder, Ari Lehman,
Kimberly Beck.
No, Kim wasn't there. But there were some technical people. There were like, maybe CJ was there from 6. But there were like 10 of us in a room. And I had never been to a convention. I didn't know what I was doing. I just sat there. I wasn't even charging. I was just like, okay, I'll sit here, because I just I heard there was like an hour wait to get in the room, and that was like, oh my God, like there's a thing here. Like it's just a thing. And so then I started going to more conventions. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean, I'm just wondering, like, is that when you feel like you first realized there was just this incredible fandom for this?
Yes. And then a few years later, there was at Monster Mania, he did people from every Jason was there. Well, there was a Jason from every movie, because it was Warrington, not Steve, from 2, but otherwise it was Ari Warrington, Richard, Ted White was there, Dick Wien from 5, CJ and Kane and Ken Kersinger. So it was all the Jasons, and then me, Dana, Adrian, Kimberly Beck, Lar, Kevin Spurtis, Aaron Gray. It was just like this huge thing, and that was amazing. It was, and Betsy Palmer was there.
I was just about to ask you if you keep in contact with everyone, but it sounds like you do.
Yeah. How about from 3? Like, who do you still keep in touch with anyone from part 3, and who the most?
Well, we're on Facebook. I mean, so I sometimes see people. I do talk to people. Like I see Tracy is the only one who lives in LA. Well, that's not true. Rachel Howard, who played Chili, lives in LA. She wants nothing to do with the movie, never saw the movie. I've asked her to come to screening. She won't come to a screening. Just wants nothing to do with it.
Why? Any reason?
She became a psychologist. She's a psychologist in Westwood. I think she just wants nothing to do with the movie.
Well,
that's so interesting.
That is interesting, because I'm sure that people would. I'm sure she's going to have clients that are going to recognize her from this, or her name. Maybe.
No, I don't know. Maybe. I don't. Again, so I haven't talked to her in many years. I see Tracy at things we've come across. We've done certain things together over the years. I talk to David Cadens once in a while. This last year, I had not talked to Jeffrey Rogers since the movie came out, and just a few months ago, I found out his phone number and I called him, and I'm like, "Hey Jeff, how's it going?" And we spoke, and it was great. Like, he was so happy to. He's like, "I'm so glad you called," and we shared stories. And he's an emergency room doctor in
Wow.
I think in Washington near Seattle.
But is he still walking on his hands? That's what we want to know.
Does he
I
have,
don't
does
think
he have
so.
any interest in doing a convention or anything, or
He
not?
said he might. He said he might. I'm going to try. So next year is our 40th anniversary,
Awesome.
and I'm going to try and get him to come to at least one reunion.
In
Or maybe,
Danish,
maybe they'll do one in Seattle. Maybe the Seattle CryptoCon will do one. We can all get together.
Dana Kimmel, does she do very many conventions?
She doesn't, but she has done them.
Oh.
She has done them.
I will say this for all the people we've talked to. Almost every horror celebrity has said their initial opinion of conventions before they've done one is totally changed after they do one. And what I mean to say is, like, for maybe people who hold out on them, so many people have said, oh, they didn't know what to think. Is it going to be weird, freaky people? And then they end up meeting like the nicest, most loving and dedicated and loyal fans. You know, and I'm not just saying that because Tim and I are some of these crazy fans, but also just because, yeah, everyone we talk to just says how gratifying it is to go to these conventions. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it's so much fun. It's so great. And people who that first convention I told you about in New York, where I remember Adrienne King told a story about how she didn't go to conventions for years because she had a stalker. She had a very serious stalker problem, like a dangerous guy. And so that put her off it. And she came to this convention, and then, it's just, 3 days of people just giving her love. And now, and she loves it. Now she goes to conventions all the time. I mean, what's not to love? People come up to you for the weekend and they tell you how great you are, and they give you money, and they give you money. It's like, what?
And they give you money. I'll pay people to tell me. I pay people to tell me how
great.
To
tell you how great you are. It's like, this is some weird world. I'm in a weird world.
I just want to, before we get to our final question, I do want to ask, because you ended up, moving away from acting, becoming an entertainment lawyer. And for laymen like Tim and I, can you explain what the heck is going on with the rights battle with Friday the 13th and why there hasn't been a movie since 2009? Or is this something you cover in your field of law?
In 3 sentences.
Well, I have covered, and I've done some podcasts where I've explained the lawsuit on the Slash and Cast podcast. So if you go on YouTube and Google Slash and Cast, Larry Zerner, you'll see some long videos where I explain everything. Let's break it down. But basically, Victor Miller, who wrote the movie, is in a long dispute with Sean Cunningham, who directed and produced the movie, over the rights to the franchise. And one of the problems is, so the case is on appeal, and it's been a year and a half, and the court has still not issued a ruling. And so without a ruling, everything is in limbo.
Wow.
I'm just confused, because wouldn't he own the rights maybe to Friday the 13th, but not because I guess Jason was a character in the first one, just wasn't the main character.
That's right. And because the copyright owner owns the right to make derivative versions, that includes the right to take the child Jason and make him an adult Jason. So it's a combined right, but Sean owns the rights too. They both own rights. And so in order to make a movie, they have to come together and agree that they can make a movie and what the split will be. And that's really the tough question, is what is the money split? Because there's really no guidebook on what that would be.
It's just confusing.
And there's money to be had.
I was just going to say, like, I'm, as someone who's not familiar with this, all I'm thinking is the longer they put it in limbo, zero money is being made. But if they can come to an agreement, they're going to, people want to see another movie. So there's tons of money to be made.
Or just bring back Friday 13th Part 3 in the theaters with 3D.
That's a good idea. They should do that.
So our final question, and we ask everyone we interview this, kind of will put you on the spot, but what is one thing that you can tell us about your experience either working on Friday the 13th Part 3 or just something related to the Friday the 13th franchise that you've never told any other interviewer, publication, podcaster? So anything, as long as you've never told it in another interview.
Okay. All right. I'm going to tell the story about how I am indirectly responsible for the creation of the Crystal Lake Memories and Never Sleep Again documentaries. And
Oh,
really for you guys, because this is I'm assuming this is a gay friendly podcast.
yes.
So
In
this is
10%.
the story.
Definitely.
This is the story. So we go back 20 years ago, to 2002, when the New Art was having a 3D film festival. The New Art's a theater in LA for people, they do Revival House, and they were doing a 3D film festival, and they were going to show Friday the 13th Part 3 in LA for the first time in 20 years, first time since '82 it had been shown in 3D. And I was like, oh my God, they're showing Friday the 13th Part 3. I got to go and I got to bring people, and why don't I try and track the other cast members down and we'll all go, And so I started, and this was pre-Facebook, right? 2002, there's no Facebook yet. So it was tough. And I found Paul Kratka and Steven Suskind, who played Harold. And I called the New Art and I said, can we come down and do a little Q&A? And they're like, sure, come on down. So we came down, and then Richard Brooker showed up because his girlfriend had heard about it and brought him. He didn't even know that it was going on, like surprised him. So first time I'd seen any of these people in 20 years. Anyway, and I had brought a poster and we were going to give it away as a prize. So between the 7:30 and 9:30 show, they do a quiz. They go, who can name all the movies and all the directors? And this one little blonde kid gets up there and he does it.
It was
not
Tim.
It wasn't me.
Not Tim Burdock. Kid I don't know named Peter Brackett.
Peter Brackett. Okay.
Peter Brackett. So that was my first introduction to Peter Brackett, who then calls me a few weeks later and says, listen, I'm thinking of doing a book about Friday the 13th. I'd like to interview you. And so I'm like, sure. So I was his first interview for the book. Okay. So he starts working on the book, and I'm checking in on him every once in a while. And he's like, oh, I've done 20 interviews. I've done 50 interviews. He's interviewing everybody. I got the caterer on part 9. I'm so happy. Anyway, but seriously, anyway. So on the other hand, I met Dan Ferens because he had called me because he had a lawsuit, and I represented him in a lawsuit involving this horror movie called Darkness Falls, which had been ripped off from a script of his. And so I met Dan, and Dan's telling me how much of a fan he is of Friday the 13th. And I'm like, Dan, you should meet this guy, Peter, because you're both Friday the 13th fans. And okay. And I've never said you guys should meet you. I've never said two guys should meet each other, but I'm like, you guys got to meet. So we all decide we're going to go to a screening of 28 Days Later. It was like the premiere. I remember. So we go to the screening, which was at the Ford Theater. And at some point I realized that Dan and Peter are making out in the movie. And I'm like, what? Like I didn't know either of them were gay. I was just like, you guys should meet.
Wow. And these are both friends of ours. Like we
I know. I knew you guys. I knew you would like the story.
Yes. No, I have never heard this story, but please go on. But it's funny to hear this about two good friends of ours. Go on.
That's how that's how Dan and Peter got together. And then they were dating, and then Dan helped, edit the book, and they put that together. Then I'm going to a client meeting, this other client, and just unrelated, and I go to meet the CEO, and I'm talking to the CEO, and this guy comes in, the CEO goes, oh, this is Tommy, he works for us, blah, blah, blah. Tommy turns, looks at me, and I'm wearing a suit. I'm thinking, he took one look at me, he says, you were Shelly in Friday the 13th Part 3. Like,
I love it.
Which is like the first time anyone's ever done that, in a business sense, And so I'm like, oh, we got to talk. So I met Tommy. That's Tommy Hudson, who is also a friend of yours, right?
Yes.
I know Tommy.
Tim knows him well. I've just met him, but I don't know him as well.
Very nice guy.
Yeah.
So I go, Tommy, you got to meet Dan and Peter. So I just like, Tommy, this is Dan and Peter, and then
they were all making out.
Yeah.
and then it was just an orgy. So
no, but you really did put 3 mega fans together.
3 mega gay fans.
Yeah.
Together. Yeah.
That's right. I put them all together, and so as a result, we got both those Crystal Lake memories and Never Sleep Again documentaries.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are great documentaries.
We have had Dan Ferens on the podcast. We are going to have Peter Bracke on the podcast soon because we were kind of waiting until we went through. We've talked to a lot of Friday the 13th people and just wanted, because Peter to me is like the definitive voice on Friday the 13th.
Definitely.
You know, I mean, he knows everything and, you know, in every DVD and the behind the scenes and stuff. And Tim knows well, and hopefully we'll have him on the podcast too. But that is a crazy, amazing.
Yes.
So basically, you are Shelly from Friday the 13th Part 3, entertainment lawyer and gay matchmaker extraordinaire.
Apparently, yes, exactly. Right.
And
exactly right.
a 1 versus 100 winner.
And a 1 versus 100 winner. And Tim is not.
No, I am a loser.
No. Well, look, this has been so much fun, Larry. We're so grateful that you took the time to talk with us. And we had a lot of fun today. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. And again, it's all just about whether I get more listeners than Dan.
That's right.
Perfect. All well, right. Again, we'll keep you posted on when the episode is going to come out. And please stay in touch. Right. It was, again, so much fun. Great stories. Right. We really appreciate it.
That was fun.
Okay, well, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Happy Horror Time.
This podcast is hosted by Matt Emmer and myself, Tim Murdoch. It's co-produced and edited by Jacob Randall.
We release episodes every Sunday, switching off between reviewing recently released horror films and interviewing horror stars and insiders. And we have a ton of fun along the way.
You can stream all our episodes directly from our website, happyhorrortime.com, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And make sure to follow all our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Happy Horror Time.
If you'd like to support this podcast, please sign up to be a patron at patreon.com/happyhorrortime. Patrons get access to our growing library of bonus episodes where we discuss older horror films, look back at popular franchises, and all kinds of fun horror stuff.
And if you'd like to contact us, send us an email at happyhorrortime@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners.
I'm Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch.
And we hope you have a happy horror time.